Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on the educational system and linking it to the labour and job market, the requirements and the qualifications that the educational system can provide to the students and academics for the labour market. But before we start doing that, let's check out some of the main stories making the news today. And we'll start off with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who directed today to stick to the highest quality and safety standards in implementing all projects in the new administrative capital. The President gave his directives during his meeting with the head of the Armed Forces Financial Affairs Authority, General Ahmed al-Shazli, Presidential Advisor for Urban Planning, Major General Amir Said Ahmed, and Chairman of the new Administrative Capital Company, Engineer Khalid Mahmoud Abbas. Presidential spokesman Ahmed Fahmy said the meeting tackled procedures of transferring ministries and governmental bodies to the new capital. The meeting also probed the growth of revenues of the new Administrative Capital Company, where the head of state stressed on the significance of avoiding any burdens on the state budget. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi also met the Minister of Interior, Mahmoud Tawfiq, today. Presidential spokesman Ahmed Fahmy made the announcement. And Egypt condemned a suicide bombing that struck a military training camp in the Somali capital, Mogadishu, killing at least 20 soldiers. In a statement, Cairo offered as the government and people the sincere condolences to the government and people of Somalia. The attack at the Jali Sayed military academy was swiftly claimed by the Al-Qaeda-linked Shabab group. It was not immediately clear how the terrorists gained access into the camp. These were some of the main stories making the news today, but now focusing our attention to tonight's topic, let's check out this report regarding President al-Sisi actually directing to develop the educational, academic and research activities at the university and educational institutes. Let's check it out and we'll be right back.
President Fattah al-Sisi has directed officials to maintain their efforts to develop the higher education sector and upgrade the academic and research at universities and institutes in the country. President al-Sisi stressed that education issue is so important to the state and is considered a top priority to build the Egyptian human being as per related criteria worldwide. The President also instructed to best benefit from the knowledge bank, given it is playing an important role in honing skills for graduates to meet requirements of the labor market, in addition to scaling up the research production of universities and research centers nationwide. The head of state is keen to review the latest developments on implementing the national strategy for higher education and scientific research, which aimed to develop those two important sectors, in addition to ongoing efforts to establish and operate more information technology and civil universities around the country. He probes efforts to develop and upgrade efficiency of teaching hospitals and their role in providing health services nationwide. Also, President al-Sisi has directed the development of the basic education system to ensure better learning and skills acquisition, and stressed the importance of instilling the values of learning to replace traditional ideology that reduced the learning process to simply getting a certificate. He stressed the importance of emphasizing community dialogue and surveys in the field of education development, with a focus on discovering and nurturing talent, and they are the nation's engine of progress. Furthermore, President al-Sisi directed the concerned parties to pay attention to teachers, as they are the cornerstone of educational process. This will be done through the selection, of 1,000 distinguished teachers to qualify them at the highest level and place them at the forefront of the future generation of school principals. President Sisi also directed him not to limit the electronic correction process in high school to one central headquarters and to expand the establishment of regional centers nationwide, the main pillar on which the education process in Egypt is based, and the ministry's strategic projects in this context includes developed education system, teachers, technical education, building curricula for different educational stages, and that Egypt's Distinguished Schools project. The President follows Egypt's experience regarding Nile schools, Japanese schools, in addition to digital transformation projects that are carried out in cooperation with the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology, especially with regard to secured databases, electronic platforms, and the central examination platform, plus programs for training and qualifying teachers, mechanisms for measuring their performance, as well as the controls for selecting competences in new appointments, and the I Am the Teacher program, which aims to highlight the social value of the teacher.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're joined here tonight in the studio by Dr. Mohamed Shukr Nada, the Professor of Architectural Engineering and Urban Development and also former head of the Technological University of Beni Suef. Dr. Nada, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thanks for the invitation and to have the possibility of expressing personal opinions in such important and interesting topics.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Nada, first of all, I mean, if we're talking about the educational system and really talking about bridging the gap between the educational process and the universities and higher education and the requirements and demands of the labor and job market, it's quite a it's such a high pace of development and changes for the requirements of the job and labor market. How big is the gap between what people study and students study at the universities and higher education and the requirements of the job market? Are we talking about a small gap, or is it something that would need a generation to overcome?
Recently, as many people may recognize the importance and the focus of the political leadership in Egypt to education and developing education, especially technological aspects of education, you can see that many of new jobs may arise. At the same time, many of the old jobs may be demolished or may be decreasing. So this has to take into consideration to develop the education to cope with such new fields of work in the labor market. So that's why the higher education in Egypt and the education which is pre-university level also as well, both of them probably trying to integrate in order to develop the educational system, because it is one education system at the end. Even that you may find from experiences of having serving Egypt outside in many countries as a cultural counselor and in other ways. So you may find in foreign countries that some of them, they have just one ministry for education. To the extent that they have one ministry. That means that how it has to be complementing each other. So when you have the case like in Egypt, you have two ministries for higher education and another for education and technical education. So that means that you may need a focus on integration between both of them in order to match with the new labor market jobs. That's why you can see that if you talk first about the pre-university level, you can find that a lot of new schools have been under establishment, and some of them are get to work. Some of them, like the schools of applied technology. That means that now you are moving towards technological era, more spreading and more expanding in it. So that you might find that in this area, many schools have been developed and underway of more development in order to prepare students to go to the higher level, which is the university level. That's why the state has established 3 technological universities at the beginning in 2019 by the law number 72 for 2019. The 3 were one of them in New Cairo, another in Qusna, which is Delta University, and the third one is in Ben Suef. And then these 3 universities where the Ministry of Higher Education has increased more universities this year, the academic year 2022 and 2023. They get into work another 7 universities spread in several governments. So that means that you are opening now new windows for technological education at the higher level. In order to complement with the pre-university level. This is just in one area, which is technological universities. You have another areas that are developing in order to provide the students with the information and the knowledge that can equip them to go to the labor market with its new jobs.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will be focusing more as well on the technological universities, but let's go out for a short break and we'll be right back.
In an effort to make sure students are graduating with skills the labor market needs, Egypt is expanding its network of career development centers at universities and creating a new central unit to coordinate their work. The new central unit is located in the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research. The U.S. Agency for International Development has funded the new unit, which includes representatives from the private sector to share the knowledge of what the market needs with academic experts at universities. The ministry said the goal was to make sure university students were graduating with the skills the local, regional and international labor markets need. The country is beefing up its career development efforts at universities to make sure students are graduating with skills the local, regional and international labor markets need. The unit will try to ensure that the career development centers at universities are providing appropriate training programs that cover soft skills, technical skills and entrepreneurship. It works will also include regular communication with employers to ensure educational programs are providing the right skills for present and future jobs. Career development centers were already in place at a number of public universities nationwide. The project is based on building the professional abilities of final year students at participating universities and runs a variety of labor market studies linking universities and businesses. There are currently 3.6 million students at public, national and private universities in Egypt, and about 500,000 students graduate annually. The project to beef up the career development centers could affect how Egyptian universities are ranked globally, because graduates' employment rates are a factor in most rankings. U.S. aid agency is dedicated to support the government in improving education, especially in area of providing university students with the competitive skills that help them find work after graduation. The agency gives grants for students' training programs as part of its annual aid to Egypt. Creating a central unit to study the labor market and provide professional development is very significant. More and more people are leaving traditional jobs and turning to freelancing and small business ownership to cope with inflation and currency fluctuations. The Education Ministry recently launched a strategy to grow the number of vocational schools in Egypt and introduced a package of incentives and perks designed to reel in more private sector partners to develop these schools. The ministry had initially been planning to set up 100 vocational schools with private sector industrial partners by 2030 at a pace of 10 schools per year. That plan has now been amended to target 400 new schools. The types of schools and coursework are being designed in accordance with what manufacturers need in order to create a trained and skilled workforce.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our discussion with Dr. Nada. Sir, now, before we start delving into the technological universities and the potential and aspirations that really hang upon them, when we're talking about bridging the gap between the educational process and the requirements of the job market, is the gap only existing between the public universities and the labor market, or is it the public and private universities as well that have this sort of gap?
You know, when the labor market is hosting new jobs and new jobs related to technology, for example, coping with the new projects that are under construction in Egypt and the new smart cities and so on. So you may find that you need technologies in several aspects of jobs. Mm-hmm. So that means that the universities and other related educational institutions, it is expected that they improve and they introduce more new programs. For example, like mechatronics programs, autotronics, renewable energy programs. These are some examples of new programs. Artificial intelligence, of course, machine learning, whatever, data sciences, big data, Internet of Things. So you may find new expressions and new measures that are appearing. Mm-hmm. So that means that the universities, whether they are public or private or whatever, it's for their benefit as well, mm-hmm. to introduce and to put focus on such measures, because this is the market need. And mm-hmm. of course, the smart student, when he applying for university and he or she applying for a specific major, it is expected that they are looking for the major that may allow for the future a good opportunity of job. Mm-hmm. And not just a good opportunity of job locally or regionally, but also internationally and globally, mm-hmm.
because
now it is like an open sky interaction. Yes. So the competition is tough. So that's why the universities are introducing more programs. Another area of measures also, such as the measures of interdisciplinary fields. Mm-hmm. That means that, for example, one of a simple example to explain is for example, mechatronics. Mm-hmm. So it's not just mechanical area or just the electronic area. It combines both of them. Mm-hmm. So this is one example of programs like interdisciplinary programs, which is in the future is expected to have more jobs in such area. Yes. As you can see, the mobile, the cars, whatever, it has the mixture of many disciplines at the same time. Mm-hmm. So you have to provide the graduates with such knowledge. In addition to not just an academic knowledge, so you have to introduce the practical part. Mm-hmm. That's why the technological universities focus more on, or specifically focus on practical issues, to the extent that the practical work for the student may reach 60% of his work in the university, mm-hmm. Which one of the characteristics of technological university. Same thing even in the traditional universities. It's an important issue nowadays to allow students to work and to practice professionally and to get into real world problems, to attack them, to challenge them, and so on. So the mentality itself of the students is expected to be changing, mm-hmm. not just in the high level educational, but even in the pre-universities. That's why the student, not just in the high school level, mm-hmm. To develop the education in such level, but it is expected to start even from grade 1.
Yes.
In his
mm-hmm.
pre-university level, in order to allow or to prepare his mentality and prepare his way of thinking to be criticizing, to be analyzing, to be not just acquiring information, mm-hmm. but to have the information and then to transfer this information to knowledge.
Yes.
So it's very important.
Well, sir, I mean, if we're talking about starting off, I mean, not waiting up until a student gets into a technological university or the fourth generation universities, but also it needs to be introduced in primary school and secondary education. Now, secondary education in Egypt, obviously, for many years now, has been cast a big shadow of sort of anxiety or fear on students. Do we need to develop and tweak the secondary education at least, or does it need a total, complete overhaul for the system to be able to at least prepare the student academically and critically in terms of critical thinking for the university life?
By the way, now the people all around the world are talking about the 5th generation of universities, not just 4th generation.
Yes.
As said before, that to develop better in a better way, it could be taken into consideration to start from the beginning, not just at the end of the line of the pre-university level. It's a good attempt to start to develop, but the students, when they reach this level, they have to be prepared beforehand. They have to be from their year 1 or even KG. They have to, for example, during my PhD study in the US, I've seen some experiences of students in grade 1 and grade 2 prep. It's they are asked to do like research, not just so they are dealing with the how, not what.
Yes.
So from the beginning, from even the student when he's a little kid, he is trained to use his brain. He's trained to analyze. He's trained to do research. So that's why when he reached the level of high school, when you introduce new technologies or you introduce new techniques in the high school, he can be able to cope with it, and he can be able to reach the objective that what you are looking for.
Yes.
So the start should be, it is expected to be from the beginning, and not only by introducing new technologies. You know, the education system has several sides. One of them is the faculty members, whether they are high school, whether they are in the university level or pre-university level for the teachers. The student, this is an important side, to be prepared and to try to change his way of thinking. The facility itself, by providing it with the suitable equipment, suitable infrastructure. Maybe some people have, at some time, they recognize that the curriculum has been changed, but at the same time, the infrastructure in some places didn't stand this.
Yes.
So the experiment may not reach the level that you need. However, you developed a lot of things, but one item,
it needs all factors to work
to
together.
integrate together.
Well, Egypt had its own experiment with the Egyptian-Japanese sort of educational system. How would you assess or evaluate that sort of experiment, and would you recommend other educational systems also to maybe try and implement or learn from, or try to integrate it within the Egyptian system?
This is one important thing, which is to deal internationally, or to have a sort of cooperation with international bodies, another countries, to convey their experiences. For example, the period that I was honored to be president of Beni Suef University, at that time, Beni Suef University was the university that is characterized by having the international cooperation with Korea, South Korea. South Korea is known of its history in technological education, and thanks to God that we got the international accreditation at that time, with the maximum number of years that they can offer. So dealing internationally is very important when you develop the educational system, because they can help you to convey their experiences. They can help also to enhance more the capabilities of your staff. They can integrate and cooperate in many ways, exchange of students, exchange of faculty members. At that time also we got like an initial approval of a grant of like $8 million from South Korea to develop more programs. They introduce and they help with you to develop new programs. They helped with Beni Suef Technological Universities in developing the mechatronics program, the IT program, and in the new grant they are expecting, it is expected that they develop another programs like, for example, railways technologies, and so on. So international interaction is very important, and this is one of the factors that can help you to develop. For example, like the schools that have been mentioned, which is the schools of applied technology.
Yes.
Some of them also may have like cooperation with private partners, in addition to maybe local or international partner.
Yes.
So it could be one of the successful stories, that to have like this kind of three partnerships, that you have the Egyptian institution, you have the international body with you, and the third one, which is very important, especially talking about technologies, the industrial part. Industrial part, not just industry, because nowadays you may find majors or fields in technological universities like fields related to hotels and tourism. For example, so this is not industry, but another kind of industry, commercial aspects and so on. So when you have this partner, third partner, is very important, because the partner that can help you to link more with the market. So in order to graduate students, the market need them. So you can know from them what they need, and to the extent that you can develop a program specially for their needs. And it happens sometimes that, for example, you may find like an industrial partner that he needs graduates of a specific specifications. So this partner can help you to give you their needs, and then to tailor the program to them. Also, there is an experience in Beni Suef Technological University with one of very important and famous company for electronics, worldwide company in electronics. It has a factory in Beni Suef. So they play an important role with the university to train the students. So when you get this connection from the beginning between the industry and the university or the educational system, whether pre-university or university level, so this can provide good opportunities for the students that they can go after they finish and after they graduate.
It's almost a guaranteed job waiting for them.
They have a better opportunity than others, because they already trained in their companies. They already they have programs that are developed taking into consideration the needs of these companies. So it's like a win-win situation. The company itself can save time and effort and money not to train people after graduation. They have like a ready to work graduate. And at the same time the graduate has a good opportunity to work with them, and the third party, the university, has a sort of sustainability that the students are going on.
So it seems, I mean, Egypt has been working on inaugurating and launching a lot of new technological universities around the country as a whole, and fourth generation universities and hopefully fifth generation universities. So looking at the Beni Suef experiment, it seems that one of the main ways to make it a sustainable university is having international accreditation, and also maybe having, in order to really maintain and alleviate the standard of the educational process within the technological university, and at the same time maybe attract some sort of foreign investment that would require or would make use of the graduates of a technological university. So these are the two ways to really enhance and sustain technological universities here in Egypt. What makes it difficult, or how big, I mean, we're just saying it right now, but is it such a difficult thing to get the international accreditation for the technological universities? Is it hard to get international or foreign investments that are directly linked to these universities, that could make use of the education of the students and also guarantee, vice versa, job opportunities for the graduates?
Of course, it is expected that you have to do a lot of work in order to get an international accreditation, because it's very important. Once you get it, you have your student, he has also an opportunity that he can go to to other countries that
yes.
already recognize this accreditation. He can continue even studying, or he can go to work afterwards according to the regulations and so on. So it's an important to get it. If you get it, as if you are opening new doors for the university, for more international cooperation, and new doors also for the students and the graduates. And at the same time, as you kindly mentioned, you are opening another important doors for other partners to approach the university in order to do cooperation and to invest in it. Because, for example, such the grant that talked about the $8 million.
Yes.
This could be considered a sort of investing in the university, because this foreign body may not put such amount of money in something that they are not expecting success for it, or not expecting to get benefit from it. So it is very important to develop and focus on this. And also it's very important that other institutions try to get such kinds of international accreditation. Because this is the link between locally and internationally, one of the links to make it, and to get more connections with other. And it's very important to talk in a global way. And at the same time, the technological universities, you are now, with the efforts that are ongoing in Egypt, you can expect, or you can recognize that as you are trying to localize major industries, you are trying to localize education also.
Yes.
Now, I think some people have recognized that the Egyptian students going abroad, the number could be increasing.
Yes.
Decreasing. Because now you have an international branches for universities. So at the higher level of education, you have various types of education, various types of universities. You have the governmental ones, you have the national universities that come from governmental universities. You have another national universities, like there are 4. I don't know if I can mention the names or not. So, so you have another third.
Yes.
This is the third type. You have branches for international universities, like some of them or most of them so far are in the new capital. In addition to the increasing number of private universities, and some of these universities are going internationally in another way, by having like dual degrees cooperation with them, like having some sort of agreements with international universities. So now it's important to make use of the potential of many things in Egypt, like the location. For example, it has like a strategic location. You can be the hub for education in Africa and the Middle East. Yes. So you have to work hardly on this to make use of this, and at the same time, like you are, as if you are hitting many birds with one stone. You are increasing the number and quality of your education. By the way, now the number of universities, for example, have been increased to be like maybe more than around 75 universities in very few years. And if you are talking about the standards, for example, one of the standards, like to have a university for 1 million population, so you still may need like around more than 40 universities, another 40 universities. So so at the same time you are filling this need in Egypt, and at the same time you are working on attracting more foreign students from abroad, in addition to preserving your students not to go abroad and spend more money. You can get educated in Egypt, and then on the other way you can export graduates afterwards, and another way which has another economic reflection in somehow.
Of course. Well, Dr. Nada, you've highlighted the importance of really introducing a new vision or a new strategy or a new way of thinking and education, even from kindergarten to grade school and secondary school up until the universities and technological universities as well. But what about the technical education and vocational training? What can be done for the technical education and vocational training. How can we develop it? How can we make it more appealing to the masses? How can we make it relevant, especially that you've mentioned the localization of industries around the country? How can we make it relevant?
This is a very important issue because, as mentioned, you need to deal with the education as a whole, not just the pre-university and university level. So among this is the technical and the vocational training. So because previously the image or the mental, like the mental image or for such education is not that appealing for many people. But recently, probably there are a lot of attempts in order to improve this.
Yes.
And one way to improve this is by the quality itself of this sector, not just by media or just by talking or so on.
Yes.
You have, it is expected that in order to reach this enhancement in the recognition or enhancement in people vision and how they can see the technical and vocational training area, you need to enhance this area, and you need to convince them that the graduate from this sector has a good opportunity of work with which is the crucial point.
Yes.
Because it's not just to have like a certificate or the degree, because you may find a lot of graduates, they may have the degrees and the certificates, but they not find the suitable job for them. So they are as if they are wasting their time for like 16 years of their life, from pre-university till they graduate from the university, and then many of them may work in another area other than what they have studied. So why do you do this? Instead, you can make use of this, and you can invest from the beginning in the area that he can work at after graduation, whether before pre-university, before going to higher education, because he can work after getting his degree from high technical and education, or he can continue. So one way also to develop this opinion to the public, the establishment of technological universities, which this is another positive side and a positive face for the technological universities, because now you offer to the student, you offer them if they like to continue to get higher certificate or higher education certificate or degree, they can go, because he can get his bachelor from the technological universities as his colleague or her colleague can get it from the traditional educational system. He can even continue in postgraduate studies to get his master's or to get his PhD. So now you opened the area for them to continue in order not to be less than their colleagues in other systems. So this part probably could be developed with them. The other challenge is the quality of this kind of education.
Yes.
And now by the several attempts to have new types of schools, you have new types of cooperation by opening more cooperation with the private sector, which is very important, because this is the product that they need, so they have also to work with it. For example, talking about the experience with South Korea, for example, some other countries, they even, when they develop such kinds of education, they make regulations which can help also. For example, by regulations or by laws, you can give such sort of incentives for the private sector or the industry to cooperate and provide more jobs and provide more training for the students, for example, by reducing taxes or whatever. So there are other mechanisms and other tools that you can use in order to develop this area more and more, and not just to rely on the governmental budget. Introducing new areas which are needed. For example, as you mentioned in the break, that it's an honor for me when I was in the States for the PhD. It was at that time to work on artificial intelligence. It was strange to some of my colleagues, even, what are you doing? But you can see now what's artificial intelligence and its importance. So many things many things you can introduce artificial intelligence to it. Not just for itself, but now it can enter in several fields, even in medicine, in commerce, in whatever. So to make the students be prepared by such new areas from the beginning, that can help also that to encourage them to go to this kind of vocational training and technical education. In addition to that, other tools you can also think about it. For example, one of the countries that I was serving Egypt in, like India, for example, they have a specific ministry for skills and entrepreneurship. So it's not just a sector in one of the ministries or one of the areas. It has a special, a special, and with a minister. So it's very important to do something like that. So this ministry is focusing on how to develop and how to make like transitional training for graduates, because it is expected that you have a sort of transitional period, because until you have enough students or graduates from the technological or technical area, there are some other students that got education in other fields that you can also make for them like a career shift or whatever. So you need to train them. So this kind of ministry can help in this. With the partnership also with international bodies, with private sector bodies, and so on.
Well, talking about the transitional period, if we are looking, let's talk about the governmental universities. Now, we are establishing many new technological and fourth generation universities, but what about the governmental universities? What is the future for the governmental universities? Will they need, as you've mentioned, development? Will they need new specializations to be introduced? Will they need to have some sort of a transformation into a fourth or fifth generation universities? Or will they go obsolete? I mean, what is the future of these national public governmental universities?
It is expected also that they are developing. They are developing not just trying to develop new areas or new disciplines, but also developing the existing disciplines. Development may not be just by adding new fields, but you can develop by even changing the way of teaching, of educational system in even the existing curricula, because the curricula itself, you may have the theories, but the application may differ. So you can change it. So even you can find like similar new programs in several universities. For example, in the new national universities or governmental universities. However, they have the same names, but it is expected also to be different, because in every region, every region has its characteristics. So it is expected that you tailor your program and tailor the field itself, and has the application that can match with your needs. So in order to cope with the market and to attract the students, because nowadays, probably after the internet and after the new technologies, the students can have a lot of sources that they can get information from, and they can judge, and they can choose maybe better than before. So in order they choose you, you have to be different, and you have to be unique. So it's a very big challenge in order to continue because the governmental university is also a very important factor in the educational system.
One final question, because we're running out of time, but as you've mentioned, there is, I mean, do you see the development and the transformation or transition of the governmental universities? Do you see it as a good opportunity or window for the private sector to actually hop in, be it in terms of educational institutions or private corporations and private investors, that could actually hop in within this circle of governmental and public universities, that could actually help speed up and make use of the transformation and transitional process of them?
To have such kind of diversity in the universities, it could be very positive. So that means competition getting more tough.
Yes.
So when you have competition, it is expected to get better product, and the customer at the end is the beneficiary.
Yes.
It could be a good opportunity for all of them to integrate, and that's why to have the benefit that you have like a ministry that is like the bigger umbrella for all of them.
Yes.
So it is expected to have such sort of coordination, to have such sort of planning, so as all of the disciplines, all of the different types of universities integrate together.
Yes.
For the benefit of the nation. By the way, during my period also in my tenure in the technological university in Beni Suef, there are a lot of cooperation agreements done. One among some of them were with private universities. So you can also complement with them. They have something that you don't have, and vice versa.
Ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Nada has mentioned, there's a lot still to be done, but definitely we are on the right track, be it technological universities or reform and transformation within the whole educational process. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. Before we go, I'd like to thank my very distinguished guest, Dr. Mohamed Shukr Nada, the Professor of Architectural Engineering and Urban Development and also former President of the Technological University at Beni Suef. Dr. Nada, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nada International. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.